So I am going to do a quick reaction to some of the Asmongold comments he made on his stream. He watched a video of a girl that is a lesbian, and I kind of agree with everything she says in the video, and I just want to address some of the comments that he says because I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he says. So let's go. Before that, why are you still watching this on YouTube? Are you retarded? Google is a shit company that has way too much power. It's part of the thought police and possibly the biggest actor in it. If you dislike anything this company does or has done, you need to support alternative media. If you like my content, go support me on alternative media. I don't even care if you subscribe here. Go to Rumble, go to Odyssey, or go to BitChute. Go look for me there and subscribe there. Oh, but those platforms are bad for this and that. You think YouTube was always the way it is now? No, those platforms will become better the more you support them. You think Rome was built in a day or something? Stop being a bitch. If you complain about the thought police, about this company, but you're still using them as your first source for everything, you are the problem. Stop being a fucking brainless tool. You have power. You can destroy these companies. Use it. Now, back to the video.
But I think also a lot of the people that have problems, this is a great video, by the way. Like, I never saw this before. I agree with pretty much everything that she's saying. Like, this is true. Sexuality is developed.
Like I said, I agree with the video too, because I believe that these days it's not about acceptance anymore. It's more about a display of degeneracy. There is no other way to say it. It's just full-blown degeneracy, and we should not be tolerating these public displays of extreme degeneracy that oftentimes include children. I think this is one of the main reasons our society is becoming doomed.
I think it's probably both, right? I mean, you're going to have a component to this that's like more focused and less focused around this. It probably, you know, there's like some nature, some nurture to it. So I think that, like, to an extent, there can be like life experiences that a person has that alters their sexuality. But I think also you do probably spawn in with a certain degree of sexuality as well. So it's hard to say. YouTube removed.
This is one of the problems I have with this way of thinking, that it is that sexual orientation, it's about the way you acquire that taste, the way this sexual orientation develops throughout your life. It's due to experiences, and I think that is more likely than it to be actually something that you're born with. Now, the reason I don't like this part of the subject is because nobody is actually making honest experiments or real science about this, and nobody wants to do it because probably the results are not going to be what people want them to be. It's as easy as that. And these days, people want the results to be that you can actually be born with a gay gene. That's what people want to hear these days. But when the studies and the experimentation shows that that is not the case, people are going to get mad. This is the reason why these experiments and these studies are not being done. That's the truth. So I have an issue with this opinion because it's an opinion that is vague. It's not founded in anything. It's not based on any tangible evidence. Because we don't have evidence, because nobody is actually making the studies and experimentation to prove that an actual gay gene exists. And like I said, let's be honest, in this age it will not happen because it's going to be very controversial. People these days don't want truth.
This video for hate speech, I appealed, thankfully, and they accepted. The video's back up and it's here to stay. Like, their entire personality is like, you know, their ability to hook up with girls, use it as a platform to virtue signal. My characteristic. I think that there's straight people that do that too. Like, their entire personality is like, you know, their ability to hook up with girls. But I think that, like, for a lot of people, that ceases to be cool. So basically, like, the coolness factor for that, like...
No, that's not even comparable. I have never seen a straight person that its whole identity revolves around being straight. That is a fucking misrepresentation of the truth. There is no such thing as people making straight pride flags, making a straight parade. There is no such thing. And a man hooking up with multiple girls doesn't make him a person that is proud about being straight, and doesn't make him a person that makes his whole identity about being straight. It's not even remotely the same. So he's doing this because Asmongold likes to do this. He likes to do this double speaking, double positioning, because he's a grifter. He likes to grift both sides. He likes the money. He doesn't want to lose viewers. That's the whole reason. He is oftentimes found as an hypocrite, and he dislikes being called an hypocrite because he knows people are noticing his double acting. He doesn't want to piss off either side of any of these arguments. He uses his platform to parrot opinions of both sides so he can grift both sides. That's the reality of it. And if you actually believe Asmongold is a based guy, or if you believe that he is actually being honest, you're fucking retarded, dude. You're a fucking retard. The only ones that are impressed with this guy are simpletons. Seriously. Simpletons, low IQ people. Because people that have actual critical thinking abilities are not really impressed. I'm gonna give it to him that he actually puts a good show. He is entertaining. But if you are actually forming your own opinions, your own personality, your own cosmovision around what Asmongold says, you're a fucking imbecile. You're a fucking insect. Seriously. So, and this is the reason why he is overly protected. This is why you can't post on his Twitch channel. This is why his Reddit is overly protected too. This is why his moderators are a bunch of bitches that protect him, because he's afraid of facing someone that will put him in his place, basically. This is why he always pulls up the most retarded idiots in his chat to quote-unquote debate them, because they are easy prey. This is why he refuses to talk with them in a voice conversation like on Discord, because he knows he has the advantage of being able to talk versus a person that is debating him using their keyboard. It's very difficult to debate someone when one side can speak verbally and the other side has to use a keyboard to express themselves. It takes time. This is why he pressures the guy that he pulls up, because he wants to build that pressure onto him to make him make a mistake by typing some stupid shit or incomplete statements so he can easily refute them. So you have to understand what you're facing here. So no, like I said, it's not remotely the same what these homosexuals, these LGBT, whatever the fuck people are doing that truly make their own personality be revolving around their sexual orientation. Straight people don't do that. They literally don't. And if there is any case of someone doing it, it's probably as a response to what these degenerates are doing.
It peaks at like 16. My brother are bisexual. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's exactly like, how many of you guys have ever been to like, you know, something like that? And you see, I see it all, any sort of like conventional different components to it. I think that a lot of this is true. I'll read some comments about it on my critical thinking and free speech. Yeah, but critical thinking and free speech. Very well said. I think many people feel the same way, but the culture of that community doesn't really favor critical thinking and free speech. Yeah, but like, you guys see kind of what I'm saying about how I feel like, I think 90%, I'm not even kidding. It probably could even be higher than that. At least 90% of the animosity and problems that people have with, like, let's say the LGBT stuff is about transgender and non-binary and, like, you know, like made up genders and stuff like that. That's where I think that most of the actual, like, issues come from.
He says that most of us that have issues with this is because of the T, because of the transsexuals. And honestly, he's kinda correct that most people have more issues with the transsexual community than with the other communities. But I think all of them have mental disorders. That's the reality. That is what I think. And it was the case before. These behaviors were classified as mental disorders and only removed as mental disorders because of political pushing, not because of any evidence or any studies. Like I said, the problem with these topics is that they are not actually studied. There are no actual science investigating truthfully what's the issue with these people. They just don't do that because they are afraid of the public pushback, and because these days people are completely manipulated into believing this is normal. So there is no real science about this. So how can anybody say that transsexuals, homosexuals are not actually people with mental disorders? How can anybody deny this if there is no actual science about this? There is no real science, there is no real experimentation about this. And the reason why is, like I said, I think people have problems with both. They just push more back against transsexuals because it's a more extreme version of these mental disorders. Homosexuality was called sodomy and transsexuality is gender dysphoria. So all of them are mental disorders, and the fact that there is people calling themselves rats, like in the video of that girl, just shows that in fact all of this shit is a mental disorder. And the fact that we keep enabling these people, allowing them to keep expanding these ideas, to keep pushing these fucking ideas to the public, this is just making the disease worse.
No idea, right? But I'm just saying in general. If you only agree 98% you're phobic, well, I don't know. And some stuff like rad and rat self, well, that's what I was saying before about like made up genders and stuff like that. Transition as a child is where a lot of people get upset. Yes, but transitioning as a child is derivative of trans. The rats like not wanting to, or a lot of like different. Yeah, it's just it's not true. So there's actually been a lot of studies that have been done of trans. Like, you're not going to transition to being gay, right? You don't need to take hormones for that. You're just gay. So that's the whole point that I'm making. There's no such thing as a gay rat. That's not true. It's actually not true. Yeah, it's just, it's not true. So there's actually been a lot of studies that have been done, and these studies were done, like, basically, you're looking at, yeah, did you ask it? Well, no, basically, so this is a very popular study that was done with a lot of rats, and whenever you have so much of a overpopulation of an area, you have a lot of like different antisocial and non-normative behaviors that occur. Like, for example, you know, the rats like not wanting to like have a mate, or the rats like being homosexual or something like that. And this is observed in a number of different studies that it's happened that have been, you know, conducted over the years. Rat Utopia, the Mouse Utopia, YouTube videos? Yeah, exactly. And so it's extremely popular. Oh, and by the way, the end, the happy ending for the overpopulation of the rats is they all died. Yeah, they all died. And so that was, you know, kind of not so good. But, you know, that's how it is. I think you explained to us 2 weeks ago that being gay, being a random population perk, which...
This is the main topic of this video, this comment. He's saying that some chatter actually said to him that there is no such a thing as a gay rat. He gets stunned for a complete probably 5 seconds because he doesn't know how to answer that. He's completely stunned. And then he retorts this opinion about the rat utopia, in which he says that that experiment proves that there are gay rats. That is not true. That is not actually true. First of all, animals don't have use of logic and reason. They don't have the intellect that we humans supposedly have, so they cannot actually understand what homosexuality is. They don't have the understanding of homosexuality. They just don't. That is a term that we humans made. And we made that term to understand certain behavior. And this certain behavior is homosexuality. So animals can't understand that shit. First of all. Second of all, this quote-unquote supposedly homosexual behavior in animals, it's never a behavior that resembles what we humans call homosexuality. They usually display this behavior in a certain attitude of dominance or certain impulses. They don't display this behavior as we humans do. Like human homosexuals, they supposedly want to have a marriage, they want to find a couple and be with them together for the rest of their lives, supposedly, right? Because we know that's usually not the case, right? But that's another topic. So supposedly these homosexual humans want to be together, want to have children and shit like that, right? Well, animals don't think that. Animals just do this quote-unquote homosexual behavior. They never stick with their partner. They never really stick with a partner. They never really display this human homosexual behavior. They never do that because it's mostly like an impulse, like an assertion of dominance, shit like that. You know, animal impulsive behavior. It's just instinct. I'm going to read some text, some paragraphs of a site, and the site name is the American Society for the Defense of Tradition, Family and Property. Now, I know many of you will already be getting your panties on a twist because of the name of the site. Fuck you. If you do that, that is a poison in the well fallacy. So it doesn't really matter the name of the site or where the information comes. What matters is the content of the shit that I'm going to read to you. Kinda light because I'm not going to read all of it, just some parts. So don't be disappointed. But the first part is titled Animals Do It, so it's natural, right? So this is very interesting. So there are many behaviors that animals have that are completely reprehensible, like eating shit, literally eating shit, eating their own offspring, their kids. They eat each other, their couple. Some animals kill their couple and eat them, and they usually engage in sexual abuse, like, you know the word, like you know, right? They usually do that. So this type of argumentation that says that just because animals do it, it means it's okay, then based on that, we should allow all forms of bad behavior to be correct, like killing each other, like eating shit, like sexual abuse, right? We should be able to kill our own kids and eat them because animals do it. That means it's correct, right? Of course not. We know it's not correct, right? But somehow these fucking dishonest pieces of shit as an example to say that it is okay to behave like that. That's fucking stupid. There are no homosexual instincts in animals. Anyone engaged in the most elementary animal observation is forced to conclude that animal quote-unquote homosexuality, quote-unquote filicide, and quote-unquote cannibalism are exceptions to normal animal behavior. Consequently, they cannot be called animal instincts. These observable exceptions to normal animal behavior result from factors beyond their instincts. What this is telling you is that even in animals, this fucking behavior is abnormal. It's not normal. So this can be used as an argument to say that just because animals do it, humans should do it too. In fact, this actually helps the opposition because it is saying that this behavior in animals it's abnormal, it's not correct. So as above, so below. In humans, it's the same. The behavior is abnormal, it's not normal. Clashing stimuli and confused animal instincts. To explain this abnormal behavior, the first observation must be the fact that animal instincts are not bound by the absolute determinism of the physical laws governing the mineral world. In varying degrees, all living beings can adapt to circumstances. They respond to internal or external stimuli. Second, animal cognition is purely sensorial, limited to sound, odor, touch, taste, and image. Thus, animals lack the precision and clarity of human intellectual perception. Therefore, animals frequently confuse one sensation with another or one object with another. Third, animals' instincts directed towards its end and are in accordance with its nature. However, the spontaneous thrust of the instinctive impulse can suffer modifications as it runs its course. Other sensorial images, perception, or memories can act as new stimuli affecting the animal's behavior. Moreover, the conflict between two or more instincts can sometimes modify the original impulse. In man, when two instinctive reactions clash, the intellect determines the best course to follow, and the will then holds one instinct in check while encouraging the other. With animals, that lack intellect and will when two instinctive impulses clash, the one most favored by circumstances prevails. At times, these internal or external stimuli affecting an animal's instinctive impulses result in cases of animal filicide, cannibalism, and homosexuality. What this is telling you is that basically, like I said, animals don't use reason, their intellect is super limited, and they don't have will. And with that being said, humans can control these instincts, this bad behavior. Animals can't, and it depends on the circumstances that are happening at that moment that one instinct or another, one impulse or another is going to triumph. They also explain that animals confuse these instincts, these impulses, and oftentimes act in a completely erratic and abnormal way in different situations. Because like I said, they don't have reason, they don't have will, they can't act like humans. This is why using them as an example or as a model for human behavior is fucking retarded. Animal filicide and cannibalism. Sarah Hartwell explains that tomcats kill their kittens after receiving mixed signals from their instincts. Most female cats can switch between play mode and hunt mode in order to not harm their offsprings. In tomcats, this switching off hunt mode may be incomplete, and when they become highly aroused through play, the hunting instinct comes into force and they may kill the kittens. The hunting instinct is so strong and so hard to switch off when prey is present that dismemberment and even eating of the kitten may ensue. I'm not going to read the rest, but I'm going to paste the quote so you can read it yourselves, because this is all I need to hear. This is all I need to read, and this should be enough for you to change your opinion. Female cats oftentimes play with their own babies, but then some instinct overpowers them and end up killing their own babies. That's so fucking retarded. And you want me to believe that we should use animals as a reference to human behavior? Are you fucking kidding me? We can't, because animals are retarded. And in reality, all these people that are trying to push these agendas are just as retarded as animals. No wonder they want to be as animals. No wonder they use animals as a reference for their behavior. No wonder why. They are fucking as retarded as animals. So you see, this argumentation is fucking flawed and it's completely dishonest. There is no such a thing as a gay rat, and he, Asmongold, is misrepresenting this experiment of the rat utopia. Like I said, he's trying to do this because he doesn't want to look too much on one side. He wants to appear to his audience as he is a reasonable guy. He isn't. He's just lying to your face. He's just telling you what you want to hear because he doesn't want you to leave. He wants you to keep watching him and don't think too much about what he's saying. That's what he wants. He wants a fucking cult around his fucking figure. That is why he is very protected. He's the cult leader, and anyone that disagrees with the cult leader is going to be hanged. Is going to be expelled. But that's the reason why he's acting this way. Because have you seen how he acts when he's talking about Trump or Kamala? He doesn't want. Oftentimes he mocks Kamala just enough to make it appear like he's in agreement with the right people, and then he does the opposite. He starts criticizing Trump, and then he criticizes Trump just the right amount of time so he appears like he's in agreement with the leftist. This is the reason why he also doesn't criticize anything that Hassan says, because Hassan is a fucking leftist, and because both of them are part of the same agency, Night Media. They are both part of the same agency, so they probably have agreements behind scenes that they cannot go at each other. They probably have those agreements, and that is why he always, when he talks about Hassan or maybe even Destiny, he tries to fucking to not have really any side, because having a side or picking a side takes balls, takes courage, and this guy is a coward. He doesn't want to lose he doesn't want to lose his audience. He doesn't want to lose your attention. So he's going to give both sides what they want, because all he cares about money. And these influencers, all they care about is money and manipulating their audiences, because that's their job, to manipulate the public opinion. These guys are honeypots. They want you to stay on this level. They don't want you to go deeper. They don't want you to use your critical thinking. They want you to stay here and watch Asmongold or watch Hassan or watch Destiny or watch whatever the fuck, Joe Rogan. They want you to stay in that level where they will feed you what you should think. They will feed you your own personality. These people are here to manipulate you. You need to understand this, and if you don't, you're a complete retard. Explaining seemingly quote-unquote homosexual animal behavior. Bonobos or bonobos or whatever the fuck they are called, are a typical example of this quote-unquote borrowing. These primates from the chimpanzee family engage in seemingly sexual behavior to express acceptance and other affective states. Thus, Franz B. M. De Waal or whatever the fuck, who spends hundreds of hours observing and filming bonobos, says there are two reasons to believe sexual activity is the bonobos' answer to avoiding conflict. First, anything, not just food, that arouses the interest of more than one bonobo at a time tends to result in sexual contact. If two bonobos approach a cardboard box thrown into their enclosure, they will briefly mount each other before playing with the box. Such situations lead to squabbles in most other species, but bonobos are quite tolerant. That sounds very, very familiar. Perhaps because they use sex to divert attention and to diffuse tension. Honestly, these fucking primates sound like they are fucking retarded. Second, bonobo sex often occurs in aggressive contexts totally unrelated to food. A jealous male might chase another away from a female, after which the two males reunite and engage in scrotal rubbing. What a fucking disgusting piece of shit. Or after a female hits a juvenile, the later mother may launch at the aggressor an action that is immediately followed by genital rubbing between the two adults. What the fuck? Like bonobos, other animals will mount another of the same sex and engage in seemingly quote-unquote homosexual behavior, although their motivations may differ. Dogs, for example, usually do so to express dominance. Cesar Hades, ethologist and professor of psychology at the University of Sao Paulo, Brazil, explains, when two males mate, what is present is a demonstration of power, not sex. What did I told you? Right? Jake Lins Schlutz, ASPCA Animal Science Director of Special Projects, explains further. Usually, an unnurtured male dog will mount another male dog as a display of social dominance. In other words, as a way of letting the other dog know who's boss. While not as frequent, female dogs may mount for the same reason. Dogs will also mount one another because of the vehemence of their purely chemical reaction to the smell of an entrus female. Not surprisingly, the smell of a female dog in heat can instigate a frenzy of mounting behaviors. Even other females who are not in heat will mount those who are. Males will mount males who have just been with estrus females if they still bear their scent, and males who catch wind of the estrus odor may mount the first thing or an unlucky person they come into contact with. Other animals engage in seemingly quote-unquote homosexual behavior because they fail to identify the other sex properly. The lower the species in the animal kingdom, the more tenuous and difficult to detect are the differences between sexes, leading to more frequent confusion. So as you can see, animals are fucking retarded, dude. What a fucking surprise. Animals are fucking retarded, dude. Wow, what the fuck? This is the fucking revelation of the century. Animals are fucking retarded, wow. And of course, we should all take animal behavior as a fucking example of how to live in our fucking lives. Wow, yes, we should totally do that fucking shit, you fucking retards. Homosexual animals do not exist. In 1996, homosexual scientist Simone Levy admitted that the evidence pointed to isolated acts, not to homosexuality. Although homosexual behavior is very common in the animal world, it seems to be very uncommon that individual animals have a long-lasting predisposition to engage in such behavior to the exclusion of heterosexual activities. Like I fucking told you, they don't want to make homosexual couples. It's just a fucking immediate action, immediate behavior as a consequence of their fucking instincts. Thus, a homosexual orientation, if one can speak of such a thing in animals, seems to be a rarity. Despite the quote-unquote homosexual appearance of some animal behavior, this behavior does not stem from a quote-unquote homosexual instinct that is part of animal nature. Dr. Antonio Pardo, professor of bioethics at the University of Navarre, Spain, explains, properly speaking, homosexuality does not exist among animals. For reasons of survival, the reproductive instinct among animals is always directed towards an individual of the opposite sex. Therefore, an animal can never be homosexual as such. Nevertheless, the interaction of other instinct, particular dominance, can result in behavior that appears to be homosexual. Such behavior cannot be equated with an animal homosexuality. All it means is that animal sexual behavior behavior encompasses aspects beyond that of reproduction. That's it, dudes. There is no such a thing as a gay rat. And the actual experiment that he's talking about, the rat utopia, was with the purpose of showing that this type of societies lead to a fucking collapse. And weirdly enough, our society is kinda going that way, don't you think? Kinda going that fucking way. It's like we are actually doing exactly what the rats were doing in that experiment. And it's like the fucking gay rats and shit like that is a consequence of the degeneracy of the state of our society, and thus they are objectively bad fucking behavior. What the fuck? Is it that fucking difficult? No, it's not that difficult, but the problem with this type of people, with these guys, these influencers, is they are afraid to telling the truth. In fact, they are not afraid of telling the truth. They don't want to tell the truth. That's the fucking reality. They don't want to tell you the truth because their job is to keep you in this state in which you will only consume what they say to you, and that will be your whole reality. That will be all you think about. They will give you the things you should think. They don't want you to think on your own. They don't want you to reach your own conclusions. They don't want you to make research. They don't want you to be a human. They don't want you to be above an animal. They want you to be a fucking animal. They want to control you. They want to fucking hurt you like you're fucking sheep, like you're fucking NPCs. They want you to give you some lines of code, and according to those lines of code they give you, they want you to behave that way. Stop being a fucking NPC. Stop being a fucking sheep. Think for yourself. I'm not telling you to stop watching these guys. I'm just telling you, watch them and use them to better yourself, to increase your own intellect.
Got useful. Now I have some men extra to care for other people's children. Well, maybe, I don't know. But I think that, again, like, the majority of the animosity and discourse around this is not about being gay. It's about being trans, and it's about whether, like, people that are underage can be trans and how to address that, and how society should address being trans. I think that's where 90% of this, like, animosity and discourse comes from. Yep, that's it. Exactly. I'll read a few comments about this one and move on. And what's this? Men should take care of their own kids. Yeah, of course, right? But sometimes that doesn't happen too. Like, why is it that, like, you aren't, like, so you're saying that people are not allowed to have a mental disorder too? Like, why is it that, like, transgenderism are both mental disorders, latter of which is now openly admitted? Mental disorders can be from birth or nurtured. I think that if you want to have a mental disorder, like, even, let's say being gay is a mental disorder, and it's just like a weird mental pathology. What's the problem with a person being able to follow through with that and do it if they want to? Like, why is it that, like, you aren't, like, so you're saying that people are not allowed to have a mental disorder? And also, if you're gay or you're transgender and you're looking for therapy to become...
Let's take this one step at a time. He's telling you that what if these people want to have a mental disorder? What the fuck? Who the fuck wakes up one day and says, you know what? I kind of feel like I want to have schizophrenia. You know why? Because I don't know. I just feel this day like I want to have schizophrenia. Who the fuck wakes up one day and says that? Nobody. So people that have mental disorders don't choose to have them. They just have them, right? So it's not about allowing people to have them or not. Typical fucking fallacy from this guy, right? So it's a fucking straw man. Nobody's saying that, and nobody has an issue with people having mental disorders. I mean, they do have an issue with them, but we know they exist. What we want and what we demand is that these people are treated, because otherwise, he asks, what is the problem with these people following through with those mental disorders? What is the problem, you ask? Well, maybe because they fucking spread, maybe because it's wrong to make these people or to allow these people to spread their fucking mental disorder. Maybe because we are living the fucking consequences of allowing these fucking people to spread their fucking disorders. Maybe that's why this is wrong. You see the fucking dishonesty of these people? Do you see it? They are fucking dishonest. They are brainwashing you. That's the issue. One only has to see the current state of affairs in the world to see how bad it is to allow these people to spread their fucking diseases, their disorders. You only have to look at the present day. That is why it's wrong. They don't allow that. He's lying. He's fucking lying. If you are an actual doctor, a psychiatrist, a fucking psychologist, but more likely a psychiatrist, if they catch you doing this quote-unquote conversion therapies, you're fucking done. You're fucking done. I don't know in the US, but I think in the US this is forbidden. Many countries it is forbidden to do this shit. That's how far these fucking agendas and this fucking disease has spread. That's how far we allow this fucking shit to spread, that we are preventing actual doctors, actual people with the knowledge of this shit to cure them. We are preventing them to cure them because who does that? Who does that? Who doesn't want these people to be cured? Who? Well, evil people. Evil people want this outcome. They don't want these people cured because they want to infect the whole society. So no, you don't really have these options, and most likely most of these quote-unquote experts are going to be in on the fucking grift of these poor people, because let's be honest, these people are suffering. These people of these communities are suffering, and instead of giving them real solutions, real fucking answers, we are fucking using them, well, not we, they are fucking using them as weapons to destroy society, and they don't give a fuck about them. They truly don't give a fuck about them. They are preventing them to finding a solution. That's the fucking issue here.
Also, if you're gay or you're transgender and you're looking for therapy to become non-gay or non-transgender, there are lots of forms of therapy that are provided. Whether it's like traditional therapy, there's religious therapy, stuff like that. So if people feel like this is a problem in the same way that, like, schizophrenia or anything like that is, then they have every right to try to address that and deal with that. And there are people that do that too. There are some people that, they grew up and they were like, I feel like I'm gay, but I don't want to be. And I think people that are kind of like in like that middle ground, because I do think like people's sexuality exists on a spectrum. I'm not saying gender does, I'm saying sexuality does. That, it can move them over to that other side. So yeah, I mean, savant syndrome is mental disorder too. Yeah. So I think that just because something's a mental disorder doesn't mean that it's not valid and people can't feel that way.
Like I said, these people don't have the tools to actually be cured if they want to be cured. They don't. And the people that try to offer those services are fucking destroyed. So he's being completely dishonest. Second of all, that chatter just said that Down syndrome is a mental disorder. Down syndrome is not a mental disorder, you fucking retard. Down syndrome is not a fucking mental disorder, you stupid retard. This is why, and this is the average fucking guy that watches these fucking influencers. They're fucking retarded, no wonder they want these people to tell them what to think, because they're fucking retarded. Down syndrome is not a mental disorder, you stupid imbecile. Down syndrome is a condition, it's a genetic condition that causes a person to develop in an quote-unquote incorrect way. Their whole body is malformed. They are not formed as they should have been formed, right? And thus, it's not a mental disorder. They are just people that are suffering from a genetic condition that makes their body to be not formed in a correct way, and they, as a consequence of this malformation, have these mental issues and these cognitive problems, etc. It's fucking obvious, right? If a person's body is not developed in a correct way, it's obviously cause a shit ton of issues for that person. And that's about it. I just want to make this video because I disagree with a lot of what he says, and I feel the obligation to kind of refute his points, because like I said, not a lot of people have critical thinking abilities, so I'm doing my best to try to spread some truth about this fucking shit, but I am not hopeful that people will even watch this, but whatever the fuck, right? It actually helps me to practice my English, so who the fuck cares, right? It's actually useful for me, so it's not a total waste of time. And actually, I agree with what he says about transgender shit, that you shouldn't be able to allow kids to go through that process, and it only should be done by people that are of the age of consent. I agree with that, and I agree with the girl and with his own opinion about why these displays of degeneracy are wrong. So with that being said, I am working in my Silent Hill review. I am going to do a Silent Hill 2 review, and this review is going to be special because I'm going to play throughout the original game, the enhanced edition on the PC, and then I'm going to play the remake, and that sounds like a lot of fun, because I feel like it will be very interesting to see the differences of these two games. I am one of those people that don't like the Resident Evil 2 remake, even though I never played the original Resident Evil 2. The remake of the Resident Evil 2 game was fucking garbage. Why? Because if you don't remember correctly, in that game, the game cheats, and if you have good aim, and the game has this adaptive difficulty that will screw you if you have good aim, and they will make zombies not die on headshots, shit like that. And I have seen a lot of criticism of that game, and people say that the game is not really as the original, like the two scenarios of the game, or I think there are two scenarios, they are not even remotely the same, that the game actually, the remake, lacks parts of these scenarios and shit like that. So I don't agree that the Resident Evil 2 remake is a good remake. I think it's a mediocre remake. It's not as bad as the quote-unquote Resident Evil 3 remake, but it's not a good remake. I don't want my remakes to be removing shit from the original games. I don't want that. If you want to make a remake, make it as the original. Just up the graphics and shit. Make some quality of life improvements, graphics updates and shit like that, UI improvements, but don't fucking change the game. Don't remove from the original game. I don't want to enter into details because it's going to take a while. Because for example, Dragon Quest VII Remake was for me kind of a disaster because they changed the whole class system. I don't like that. I don't like when they do that. I don't like they change the whole intro of the fucking game. I don't like when they do that. If it's supposed to be a remake, just fucking remake the game. Just look at fucking Final Fantasy VII, dude. The fucking quote-unquote remakes, they're fucking garbage, right? So please don't do that. I don't like that. So this is why it's going to be interesting, because I'm going to compare the fucking two games in my review, and I bet that not many people are going to do that. So that is what I am working on right now, and then I'm going to review Metaphor, and then after that Romancing Saga 2. So that's my plan. And with that being said, that will be all.